Hey, so this is Dr. Drew Jamieson, and if you're dealing with any digestive complaint at all, whether it's gas, bloating, stomach pains, constipation, diarrhea, I need you to know that one, none of that's normal, and two, there's lots we can do to sort you out and get you feeling better. This is the most important system of the whole body because everything you digest and absorb goes into your bloodstream, and then your bloodstream goes everywhere, so it touches every single system. And there's an old saying that all disease begins in the gut, and it's very true because if that system breaks down, every other system and organ system in your body can potentially suffer. So let's start at the top down and we'll go through a journey of the digestive tract, and I'll touch on all the things that are crucially important. The very most important first step when it comes to digestion is food selection. You need to make sure you select the right foods that are compatible with your body. You can't just eat foods you like all the time. You have to eat foods that like you. So this is why I like to test and eliminate food sensitivities, because if you're putting the wrong fuel in your system, such as like a car that runs on gas and you put diesel in it, that car's going to seize up. So you need to make sure that you put the right food and fuel in your body. You also need to consider toxin exposure. A lot of crops, fruits and vegetables and foods are sprayed with all kinds of herbicides and pesticides. These eventually add up in your system and cause ill health and disease. So there is a list out there called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 that I recommend you look into. And this just gives you an idea that if you're going to buy organic and clean, which foods are most likely to be contaminated that should be on that list of organic. Food quality and food selection, food sensitivities is the most important first step of digestion. The next most important step from the top down is chewing. If you don't chew your food, it cannot mix with your enzymes and get broken down easily in your stomach. And I always tell people there's no teeth in the stomach, so you gotta chew really well. You'll be able to break down and absorb your nutrients. It won't cause as much gas, bloating, and discomfort. And it fixes a lot of stuff simply by just slowing down and chewing, and most people eat way too fast. Now, when we enter the stomach, there's a few key things there. You need a certain amount of hydrochloric acid. Acid helps kill stuff, helps digest your proteins, helps activate enzymes, and this is crucial that we have enough stomach acid. So the pH of the stomach should be very acidic, around 2, which is like 100,000 times more acidic than the large intestine, which is the opposite end of your digestive tract. So this is a very acidic environment and should stay that way. But in our society, with all the stress and the fast pace of living, people are using all kinds of medications, acid suppressors. Before you know it, that environment is not as acidic as it should be. That leaves us susceptible to infections. We're not going to digest our protein as well. We're not going to activate our enzymes as well. So it's super important to get that acidic environment in the stomach and maintain it. So then the food gets passed along to the small intestine. This is where you need adequate bile from the liver and gallbladder to break down your fats and emulsify them. And then there's a certain amount of pancreatic enzymes that come from the pancreas. And that all merges with the food and the stomach acid in the first part of the small intestine. Now, if one of those systems is out, or say you have a gallbladder removal or not enough stomach acid, you can appreciate the breakdown of that food is not going to be very good. Now that food is large chunks, it's not getting absorbed, you're missing out on micronutrients, and that food in large chunks just becomes an irritant. And this can lead to altered transit times, diarrhea, irritations, gas and bloating. Or worse, if it even goes too far the other way, you can have heartburn and indigestion. So we need to then determine if there's an enzyme deficiency. Is it ox bile the person needs? Is it more pancreatic enzymes? Do we need to fix the pH of the stomach? So this is all going on in my head when I'm talking with people about their sluggish digestive system. And then the other big thing is it's not just what you eat, it's what you absorb. People used to always say it's, you are what you eat. No, you are what you absorb. And so you could have the best diet, food sensitivities are looked after, you're on low toxin food, you're chewing really well, but now it gets to the gut lining, and if you have leaky gut or high membrane permeability, you're going to have large molecules floating through, getting into the bloodstream, irritating your system, or worse yet, you're not going to be set up to absorb the right micronutrients from the food, and then therefore you can still be at the cellular level deficient. Well, that's why I love to do micronutrient tests, because it gives us an idea of not just what you're eating, but what you're absorbing. And then I know, okay, do we need to do more gut support? Is there leaky gut going on? Is there enzyme deficiencies happening that's causing the cells to not receive the nutrition from the food? This is super, super important. And in really inflamed cases like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's or fibromyalgia, where the nutrition of the cells they're just screaming for fuel and you can't get it there because the gut lining is so inflamed, This is where IV nutrition can be important because you bypass and circumvent the gut by hooking up to an IV, giving some vitamins, minerals, amino acids can be wonderfully helpful for those cases. So at a sort of deeper, long-lasting level, you need to kind of determine, okay, why is the leaky gut happening, or why is the malabsorption happening, and then enzyme deficiencies there, and then sort of work it backwards. And so that's why I love to stimulate digestive enzymes: apple cider vinegar diluted in water, betaine hydrochloric acid capsules, ox bile I already mentioned. There's a ton of bitter tinctures you can use and bitter greens, because anything that's really bitter in nature stimulates our body to push out more enzymes from either the stomach, liver, gallbladder, or the pancreas system. And then we also need to consider bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine. Most of your bacteria should be in the large intestine, but if you have a translocation, as I like to say, where too much of it is in the small intestine, that's going to mesh with your food. And then when food and fiber meshes with your bacteria, and if there's too much of it, it'll release gas. And then gas causes stretch of the intestines. And I always say the intestines are very sensitive to stretch. And if they stretch too much, that causes bloating, pain, and discomfort. Think of like a balloon blowing up really tight. Eventually, it just hits a point where it is not going to feel good. Maybe it's a high gas vegetable, like too many beans, legumes, lentils, too much raw broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, cruciferous vegetables. That can cause excess gas production, and then that causes pain. Could also have a fungal overgrowth inside the digestive tract, and that way it's not just what foods you're putting in, but it's the environment it's going into. So crucial to kind of consider. And then of course, if there's any deeper things going on, blood in the stool, excessive inflammation, you want to do scopes to kind of rule out Crohn's and colitis, and that is always something you need to consider if there's any red flags that pop up on the digestive analysis. Other things around bowel habits: once that food moves into the large intestine, it's going to reabsorb the water and electrolytes. But if there's improper reabsorption of the water, that can lead to diarrhea. If there's malabsorption of fats, that sort of grease and slickness of the food will continue on in the large intestine, and then you'll have just more loose bowels. And so there's lots of clues, and we'll always ask people, how many bowel movements a day are you having? And hint, hint, it should be at least once a day, maybe twice. If you go 3 or more, that's excessive. And if it's less than 1 a day, there's constipation going on. And your body needs to eliminate these toxins every single day, because if it doesn't, those toxins just sit in your colon, get reabsorbed again, they hit the liver a second time, and it's going to cause bloating, discomfort, energy issues, headaches. It's very important that you detox daily by getting that out. If people need help with constipation, I like high-dose magnesium. Cape aloe extracts are a recent addition of mine that have been working incredibly well. You got to make sure you're hydrated as well, because this digestive tract is like a river, and that river cannot run dry. So it has to have adequate water. 1 liter per 50 pounds body weight daily is no question where you need to be. And most people walk around in a dehydrated fog. They simply don't have enough water coming in, and their digestion will suffer. Probiotics, it's a bit of a loaded question. It's usually case by case. And if someone has a bacterial overgrowth, that's something you do not want to do. Some people are more sensitive to certain strains than others. So I can't just have a blanket, take it or don't take it. It's very case by case specific. But as part of a good gut healing program, it may involve the replenishment of some bacteria in the form of good ones like probiotics. So absolutely, absolutely. Glutamine powders, deglycerinated licorice are wonderful for soothing the small intestine. Chewable licorice capsules are great for heartburn and any sort of indigestion, so I'm a big fan of those as well. Now, if they're having a problem with more in like the back end of digestion, we may look into some stool tests to kind of rule out bacteria stuff, yeast, and parasites. It's another big thing and bug that we have to kind of consider. If people have illness while traveling, or if they've been to endemic regions, we're always kind of thinking in the back of our mind that they maybe pick something up, and that's where parasites may come into play as well. So that just kind of gives you a general overview of all the things I'm thinking about when we're going through, hey, I have this problem with my digestive tract and I just can't seem to shake it, and it's been like this for years, or maybe it's more of a recent thing. But either way, we put our detective hat on and we figure out, okay, what's going on, and we tick all the boxes. We start with the basics, right, from the top down, with food selection and chewing all the way through. So if you're having gut issues and you haven't been able to figure this out, and you're tired of the gas, bloating, stomach pains, or bowel issues, then send me a message below, drop me a comment. I'd be happy to help out. We can chat and figure this out, because this is one of my expertise and I love working with digestive health. So past that, thank you for watching and have a great day.